My name is Luke Diebold. I'm part of a group of web developers that build high-performance Vue apps in record time with a framework called Quasar. We don't spend months on designs that take years to test and end up confusing our customers. We use the material design spec because we already know that it works. Since we're community-driven, we have to be smarter than corporate frameworks. We do this by insisting on top-class web components, striving to use best practices, and pushing ourselves to raise the bar of what's possible on the web. Most component libraries do one thing and leave you to figure out the rest. We have a vision that is much, much bigger. An unparalleled experience building front-end apps that work on all platforms. We are Quasar developers, and there is nothing we can't build. Welcome back. This is episode 3 of the Quasar Show, and boy do I have some exciting stuff for you today. So, we're going to be building a BEX, which is a browser extension using Quasar. And if that sounds boring to you, then I highly recommend that you stick around because whoa, this totally blew my mind. The amount of flexibility that you get out of building a Quasar extension is just insane. And you might even find some ways that you can create custom browser extensions for the company you work for. And aside from, everybody thinking that you're really cool because you created a browser extension, I think you might find that there's actually a lot of use that you can get out of building them. So we're also going to go through some awesome stuff with the news today that I'm super excited to share with you. Some awesome projects that I really want to share that I've been wanting to share for a while now that I finally get to. Anyway, I'm kind of bubbling with excitement, but more on that later on. What else are we showing? We're going to be covering some really cool components like the Q range component and another one which I won't tell you about right now, so I'm going to keep that one as a secret. But yeah, also a really cool product called SA Email Builder 9, which was built with Quasar. So if you've ever had difficulty building email templates, then you definitely will want to check out this tool. It's really, really awesome. Anyway, that's enough preamble for now. I really want to just dive into the show. So I'll see you in the next segment, which will be the news. Let's take a look at some of the things that have been happening in the Quasar and Vue world. First of all, the release of Webpack version 5 came out a little while back, and now Razvan has worked hard to get it into Quasar Beta. All right, so the latest version of Quasar Beta is currently on version 5, and this actually marks the last major step to moving us to version 2 stable. So I'm ridiculously excited, and I honestly don't know how he does it. It must have been a nightmare to get from version 4 to version 5 with Quasar, considering the size of the framework. But yeah, he's managed to punch it out, done an amazing job. So thank you so much, Razvan, for making that all happen. Also, lots of performance improvements in the CLI algorithm too. So big thanks to Razvan. Moving on to Jeff. So Jeff has released Q Calendar version 4 alpha, and this thing is borderline insane. I've already started playing with it. I know it's in alpha, but I couldn't help it. I've already gone into the documentation. There's over 142 examples, so you could literally spend a day just running through that and getting excited, which is pretty much what I did. So definitely go ahead and check out Jeff's Q Calendar extension. I talk about this all the time, but honestly, if you haven't taken the time to check out this extension, even if you don't need it, just to have a look at what you can do with a Quasar extension, check it out. Absolutely insane. I love it. All right, so Scott has been working on the release for Apollo, for Quasar Apollo. So a few points on this. The config is improved. It's simpler compared to version 1, which is awesome. It's in beta and will probably stay beta until version 4 of Vue Apollo is final. So this makes sense. Since Vue Apollo hasn't reached its final stages, we kind of need to wait on that before the next version of Quasar Apollo is going to be released. So you can find the source code along with the installation instructions under the version 2 branch of the repo. Yeah, so the app extension is currently only working with the composition API, and this is actually because the options API version of the plugin is currently only working with Vue 2. So if you want to get on the front line, then go check that out. But otherwise, you might want to wait until the later version of Vue Apollo has been released. So super exciting. Thank you for all your hard work on that, Scott. Callow has been polishing and enhancing types for the upcoming release. Honestly, Callow is just one of those powerhouses that is just constantly fixing bugs, pushing forward TypeScript, filling in spaces where he's needed. He also like keeps us organized behind the scenes on the Quasar team. So massive shout out. Thank you, Callow, for all of your hard work. Next up, I just wanted to mention Danny. So I don't think I've mentioned him before in the Quasar show. He actually does a lot of awesome videos for Quasar, like building real-world Quasar applications. So definitely check him out on Twitter or just search like Danny Quasar on YouTube if you want to see some more in-depth videos for Quasar. So I've currently done like a lot of more high-level stuff. If you want to see some real-world stuff, Danny's already gone ahead and he's done some pretty awesome videos in that arena. So check that out if you're interested. So moving on to the Vue ecosystem news. Okay, oh, this is really exciting. The Vue single file component playground. So Evan Vue has released a playground, so a website where you can mess around with Vue single file components directly in your browser. And the cool thing about this is it's using Vue 3, and you can even do stuff like there's like a new version of the composition API, a new way of using the composition API that is a lot simpler. It basically allows you to write all of your setup code directly within your component. Honestly, you just have to check it out to see what it's like. But basically, it means that in your script tag, you can add the word setup and you can directly write your setup code in the component. And it does a bit of magic behind the scenes. So makes it super simple to use setup in your single file component. So definitely check out the Vue SFC playground. It's a lot of fun. Oh, I'm very excited about this. So Cyprus component tests. Currently, and honestly for a while now, it's been difficult to test components in isolation. At least it's been difficult to do it in a way that's using something like Cyprus, where it actually clicks around on the component. So Cyprus has been working on their component tests, and it's now available. And their definition for this is running tests on a component in isolation. So if you've been doing it with something like Jest, but you feel like you want something that's more of like a browser experience for your isolated tests, check this out. I honestly think that all of my testing in the future is going to be done this way. I'm super excited about it. So check out Cyprus component test, run a quick Google or whatever, and that'll definitely come up. Also, Vue Devtools Beta now supports Vue 2. So if you're currently on Vue 2, but you want to check out all the new awesome DevTools stuff that's happening in the beta branch, then go ahead and install DevTools Beta. It's pretty cool. I've run into a couple of issues, but it's definitely worth checking out. And it runs a whole lot faster as well. You get like a much smoother experience. So if that works for you, then I would just check out the DevTools Beta for Vue 2. Otherwise, you might want to revert back to the original. So just give that a try, see if it works for you. Yeah, I think it's awesome, a lot faster and a lot of fun to use. A few exciting features as well. And also the Vue 2, the Vue Beta DevTools has got like this new plugin system, which I'm pretty excited about. So, yep, that's it. Check out quasarcast.com/register if you want to watch some videos related to building Quasar stuff. And yeah, like I mentioned before, check out some of Danny's stuff as well if you're interested in building some sort of more in-depth Quasar real-world applications. So that is the Quasar and Vue news. I'll see you in the next segment. Na 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 na. Something that I've been playing around with recently is browser extensions. And browser extensions basically allow you to build a Quasar app that also works as a browser extension. It's insanely cool. And I got to admit, when I first heard about this, I didn't really understand what it was and the power that it could give me. But then after just spending a few minutes exploring browser extensions, I was pretty blown away by all of the cool stuff that you can do with a browser extension. So in this video, I'm going to show you some of those things through a browser extension that was created by Alan. And Alan's the guy that actually made all of these export options for browser extension available to us. So thank you so much, Alan. I'm going to show you his extension, which is called Quinn. And then I'll just give you a brief overview of how you can build your own. Just a quick note before we go forward, though. Browser extensions will allow you to do things like this. You'll be able to hook into a page like google.com. So for example, if you wanted to add a little button here, and when you click it, it adds something to a list. And then when you click on your browser extension, you can then see a list of all of the links that you kind of clicked on. So kind of like a to read later list. That's something that you could do with a browser extension. You could hook into this page and then communicate with your browser extension. So you can communicate between the page and your extension in order to add things to a list or remove things from a list and stuff like that. Another thing you can do is make an entirely new page that will encompass your browser extension. But anyway, I'll show a couple of those things in a second. For now, I want to show you Quinn, which is Alan's browser extension. So if we go to quasar.dev, and by the way, you can't currently get this from the App Store. It's still in beta, but you can go check it out. You can go check out the source code and have a play around with it. So now we go to get started on the Quasar dev site. And let's go to the component section. And how about we go to breadcrumbs, for example. And maybe you always forget about the usage of breadcrumbs, but you use them a lot in your day-to-day life. You could click on the favorite button here. And now let's jump out of quasar.dev and back into the extension. Notice that we've got this Vue component section here within our favorites. So now I can go breadcrumbs and then jump straight to that section in the docs. And by the way, if I'm somewhere else in the docs, you can tell the browser extension to actually use the current page that you're in. So check it out. It's still going to use my current Quasar dev docs page, but take me straight to the right section. So I honestly just think that's insanely cool. And if you don't like the way this is laid out, he's even got an option where you can come up here and say bookmarks, and you've got all these different ways that you can lay it out. So you can do like group bookmarks in a list, or even not group them at all. So if you don't have many bookmarks, you can just do it this way. And then you can select them like so. Delete them. Super cool. The other thing is you can just search up here. This is the part that really got me excited. I can just say QTable. It uses Quasar's search behind the scenes, and here we are. We're straight at the QTable component. And then we've also got the notifications. So currently this isn't doing anything at the moment, but it will be set up so that you can get the latest news for the happenings in the Quasar world. So this is a really fantastic example of a Quasar extension, and I think it's really cool. So that's a Quasar extension that we can utilize, but how about creating our own? Let's go ahead and have a look at how that might work. Let's say Quasar create, and I'll call this Quasar BEX play, and BEX stands for browser extension. And then when that's created, I'll just leave pretty much all of this as the default, except I'll set that to standard for our linting. So when this is created, what we will do is we'll say load unpacked. This is how you load your browser extension. And, oh, here we go. It's already in the correct directory. It'll open up, you then want to select your source-BEX folder. And then once you've loaded that, it will show up in the list. So let's go ahead and go back in here and see where we're up to. All right, so we'll cd into there, open it in Visual Studio Code, open up our console, and now we want to say Quasar dev -m for mode is equal to BEX. Okay, so we're developing in BEX mode. So now it's going to notice that Quasar BEX is missing and automatically create this folder for us. And that's the folder that we want to find in order to start testing our browser extension. So if I come back here and say load unpacked, Quasar BEX play, and then we want to go to source BEX. Open, and there we go. That's our browser extension. So let me just disable Quinn because they have a similar icon. I don't want to get them mixed up. And here is our browser extension. And by default, when I click on it, it simply opens up a tab and takes us to a new page. This is our special browser extension app page. All right, so what if we want to make it so that we get a pop-up though when we click on it? In order to do that, first we're going to have to create that pop-up page. So let's say Quasar, new page. And how about we call this pop-up page, something like that. All right, so let's go to our routes file. I'm going to copy this, paste it in there, and we'll call this pop-up page. And we'll say /pop-up, just some basic routing stuff. And I'm going to lay this out a little bit differently. This is how I like to lay things out. It's just easier for me to grok like this. All right, cool. And now notice that I haven't nested it in here. If we nested it in there, we would get the main layout, and we don't want to inherit that. Otherwise, we get all of this extra styling that we don't want. So there we go. We've got the pop-up page now. And let's have a look at how we would then utilize this page. If I go to, cancel. Manifest.json, this is how the Chrome extension works. It reads this file in order to know what to do. Now, browser action, so when we click on our extension, what's going to happen? And we change this from default title to default pop-up. And now basically we just want to tell it when we click on that icon, where do we go? It's www/index.html. Okay, so in our www directory, this is all of our built files for our BEX. And there should be an index.html in there. Right, I don't know why that's not showing up yet. There we go, index.html it is. So we're basically opening up that file, and then we're saying #/popup in order to take us into that route. So let's save it. And I think that might be all I have to do. Let's click on this refresh button, which basically refreshes the extension. And there we go. Looks like it's working. So let's actually put something in now. So let's go to popup.page. Pop-up page. And throw a div in there. And I'll probably just spit something out like my pop-up. Let's try that. And there we go. But then notice we can have Quasar components. So we can say q-list, q-item, q-item-section, and then my item. And there we go. Just a basic example of an extension. You might have a list of links to different stuff that's related to your website. So let's just say I was creating one for Quasarcast that just had links. I mean, honestly, it would be a bit redundant, but just for like a cool little example here. So we could say videos, and we could have another one here that is podcasts, and what else? Maybe another one that's like my story. My story. And then what I might do is make it so that we can open those links. So I'll say import open URL from Quasar, and then we just need to expose that. So I'll say return open URL. And then when I click on this, so I'll make all of these clickable. Obviously, usually you'd have, you'd be modeling this data behind the scenes. And then we'll say @click is equal to open URL. And then for videos, we can say quasarcast.com/ I think it's just the home directory to see the videos. There we go. And now let's do something similar for the others. Wait, this is the my story one. So /story, I think that is. That's it. And let's add another one in here, which is going to be /podcasts. And then one last one, which will be just the home directory. All right, so this is just a crazy example. There we go. If we go to videos, takes you to my videos page. And then if we click on podcasts, takes you to my podcast page. Man, this is really cool. My story. And I don't know if that link's right. Yeah. So that's pretty awesome. I mean, how ridiculously easy was it for us to get up and running and build an extension that utilizes all of Quasar's components, and it just basically exposes all of those components to us for creating an extension. I think that's insanely cool. And just to give you a taste of what else we can do, I just crossed out of everything. So let's come back here. And I think I can go, yeah, manage extensions. I just want to give you a better idea of how we would debug this. So we can go to background page to view our background page console logs. We can also, if I click on here and right click and then say inspect, that's how we can view our sort of all of our pop-up related stuff. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's pretty much it for debugging it. You might want to click on refresh here, and on rare occasions, you might want to close it and open it, or maybe even remove it and install it again. It's nice to have this page constantly open in case you need to do stuff like that. But the last thing I want to do is just sort of give you an example of hooking into the DOM. And there's an example on the docs of where you can actually put a Quasar app, inject a Quasar app into the page itself. So for example, you'll click on something and then a Quasar menu will appear on the left side. So I'm not going to show that in this video because it's beyond the scope of what we have time for, but definitely check out the docs because there is some crazy cool stuff that we can do. But I just want to show you like how we might hook into the DOM on Google, for example. So if we come up here, notice that we've got this class of G. And if I come in here, the class G shows up quite a bit. And so basically the class G allows us to get these different elements here. So I'll show you this one as well. If we come up here, there we go. So what I'm going to do is hook into every single one of these elements and then just do something. I don't know, I might add an icon or change a color or something. Haven't really decided yet. So let's have a look at how that would work. And I've got a little bit of code down on my bottom screen here. I'm definitely cheating because I'm not very good at sort of raw JavaScript stuff yet. Yeah, and look, I won't talk about the bridge in this episode, but basically the bridge is what allows you to communicate between different parts of our application. But check out the docs for that. It's ridiculously powerful. It makes it easy to communicate between different parts of your BEX. So what I might do here is I'll say const Google links is equal to document.query selector or. And then if we say here hashtag center column, I happen to know that Google has a center column div, and then .g. Let's just console.log that and see what we end up with. And really, you'd want to do a check here to check that you are on google.com, but I'm not going to do that just to keep this video shorter. And there we go. Now we've got a list of all of these link sections. So now we can sort of hook into them and do some crazy stuff. So I think I can actually say now for const Google link, and we'll say Google link element to be a bit more specific, of Google links. So let's go one step further now and console.log every individual link. Refresh the page. Cool, now we're getting every individual link. And what I might do is grab one like this, store that as a global variable, and let's just have a little play with it. And how about we say, for example, dot, I don't know, can we just change the style directly like that? Yeah, dot style is equal to, oh, what's a good example here? Maybe like border dash right solid, I don't know, 2 pixels green. Ha! How cool is that? So we can do like a bit of our own styling there. And you can imagine you could like add your own element or do whatever, make it so that when you click on that element, it uses the bridge, which you can pull out of here to communicate with different parts of the page. I mean, the possibilities are just endless. So now I could say, for example, for every single one of these links, let's say dot style. And how about we say border dash left is equal to, how about we give it like a color? No, how about solid 3 pixels and maybe just blue. Some really basic CSS here. And there we go. We get this weird little border on the left side. But yeah, obviously, you know, hopefully your brain is just exploding with possibilities here. So that's a quick introduction to browser extensions. One more thing I want to point out, all this stuff I've been talking about with the bridge where you can communicate between different parts of your browser extension. This can take a little bit of time to grok. But, it's one of those things where just read the docs, maybe come back the next day and read them again. Once it clicks, you'll realize that the way it's been built has made it way, way easier than the default way of trying to communicate using a browser extension. A lot of those abstractions have already been done for us. So definitely check that out. And hey, I hope you enjoyed this segment. I'll see you in the next segment where we'll talk about something else. I don't know about you, but I found it really difficult over the years to find a good email builder. I mean, there's a few out there, but none of them really work properly. And honestly, some of the email builder tools inside of some of the applications I use, the production applications that I pay for, are really not that special, and they don't give me the flexibility that I need, or they just expect me to paste in my own HTML. But check this out. Somebody has actually built a Quasar app that is an email builder, and it is insanely cool. So check this out. If I come in here, I can drag in different sections. You can have, for example, like a section of 3, and then you can drag in like different buttons like this. But on top of that, you get all of this extra styling as well within your buttons. So if I click on here, I think it might be this section here. Yeah, I can start adding in like some different styling. Oh, that's the styling for the column. Here we go. Let's go into the button here. Whoa, so now I can align things. I can change the color. I can come in here. What else can I do? Let's come in here and change like the color of the text as well. Make the text larger. It's pretty ridiculous how much functionality you get. Obviously, you can put in a link here as well. And this was built using Quasar. How insanely cool is this? You can add in like a title here in this section. And we can say like my email, or like check this out. And maybe you then want to like center things, so I can come in here and say center. I mean, this is like one of the first times I'm really digging in and playing with it, and I'm already finding it intuitive enough to sort of get started with. So we can add in like another section here, maybe like add a divider. We've got social network buttons as well. So let's add another section here and go social network. So we can add in like our Facebook and our Twitter. Really cool. Menus as well. So you can add like a menu at the top there, and like adding different menu items within your email. Oh, they've got like a straight out heading component. Yeah, so you get the idea. And then you've got all of these different export options. We've even got like settings here where we can change the background color. Whoa, that's cool. Man, that's awesome. And you can even like come in here and here we go. We can round the corners there. So we come in here and like set a border everywhere. We can then like round off the corners. Oh, it looks like I'm doing something wrong there, but you get the idea. We can come in here and change the columns after the fact. Really, really cool. So check that out if you're looking for an email builder. It's called SA Email Builder. And honestly, what I've just shown you there just scratches the surface of what you can do. So yeah, go ahead and check that out. It was actually built by a guy in Australia. His name escapes me, but I'm going to put his name in the show notes and a link to this. But it's actually by a guy who's also in Australia as well, living in Tasmania. So super cool. I'm excited to sort of dig into this more and try it out. And I'll see you in the next section. I did a podcast recently on the Views on Vue show. And one thing that I wanted to stress in that podcast, and that I really want to stress to all of you now, is that even though Quasar uses material design, it's actually ridiculously easy to remove the sort of material design feel of Quasar and take control. And so without writing any CSS files at all, I'm actually going to build in this video the beginning of the Trello layout. So we're going to build that top toolbar that you see in the Trello layout, and maybe in future versions of the Quasar show, we might go ahead and go a little bit deeper on that and build more parts of the Trello UI. So let's go ahead and have a look at how we might do this. First, I'll say Quasar create, and let's call this Trello UI play. Oh, and actually, before I go ahead and do that, let's make sure that we're doing this with the next branch. So Trello Ui, and how about we just call that fun? And we'll say the branch is equal to next. So we'll answer a bunch of questions all the way down. And I don't think we need anything else. I like to have the linter just because it makes it easier for me to format things the way that I like them. So I do have this. Whilst that's installing, I'll just give you an idea of the code. So have a look at this. This is how we build out the Trello UI. And I just wanted to show you that you don't actually need to write any CSS in order to make this happen. So everything that I'm showing you here is the top UI in Trello. All right, so let's go ahead once this is done and CD in there. CD, Trello UI, fun. Open that in Visual Studio Code. And now let's just do some layout stuff here so that it's easier to work with. So how about this? We can hide that, open up our browser window, and maybe smush that in a little bit. Cool, I think that's good. So we can run Quasar dev, and what I might just do is work off of the index page there. So we'll get rid of the image. We'll probably keep the layout. In fact, what I might do, instead of going on the index page, how about this? We jump into the main layout, and then we remove everything in there. Yeah, that might be a better strategy. So I'm going to come in here, get rid of all of this stuff that we don't really need. And then we can go ahead and get started. Essential links. I can get rid of that for now. I can get rid of everything in setup for now. And the last thing I'll do is basically gut everything in the center of the layout. All right, just so we can go ahead and start developing. Cool, so we got basically a blank layout here. First of all, we're going to want to say Q-toolbar to give us our toolbar. And next I want to add a style here with a min height because we want to choose a height similar to the Trello height. And what I might actually do is also open the Trello UI so that we can start playing around with it and having a look at what it looks like. There we go. And we're going to be re-implementing this top part here. All right, so now I can come back in here, throw that up there, and we're almost ready to start developing. Yeah, okay, so first we want to have this top bar here. And so I want to set the min height, and I believe it's around about 40 pixels. So there we go. Won't do anything yet because we need a color. So how about we say class is equal to background-blue-9. And there we go. The color isn't going to be the exact same, but I don't know. That's close enough. Maybe we could even set it to 8. Yeah, that's a little bit closer. And then we'll say Q-pixel none. Sorry, not pixel. So that's saying padding X. So we're removing the padding from the sides just so I can get a little bit more control over the padding here. All right, so that's the beginnings of the toolbar. Let's start throwing some stuff in there. Oh, first I want to go to my linter. Come down here and make sure that I'm getting that linting stuff just so everything lays out nicely. Okay, next let's say Q-button, and I want to create this first button here. I like using MDI, so I'm going to go to quasar.conf and we'll say icon library, just because there's a few more icons that you get with the Material Design version 5 icon set. So let's go ahead and do that and then wait for that to load, and we can go ahead and move on. So we'll set the color equal to blue-5. And there we go. So that's kind of like a similar color to what we've got here. What else do we want to do? We want to change the padding on it. So let's say the padding is equal to 4 pixels. And that's actually going to change the internal padding of the button. So that doesn't really make sense yet. We might want to add an icon here, MDI-apps. Yeah, there we go. So now that padding makes more sense. So if I were to make that, for example, 8, then it gets a lot bigger. But 4 is kind of the size that we're looking for there. And now we can say class is equal to Q-margin left extra small, just to push it across a bit like what we've got here. And, as I mentioned before, the colors aren't the exact same, but we're just going to do our best for now. And if you want, you can go more in depth. And theirs are unelevated. They don't have any shadows. So I might say here, unelevated, just to flatten it. All right, so yeah, that's pretty close. And by the way, when I put them side by side, those colors look a little bit closer. Often you get like a bit of an optical illusion when you got things at different points in your page. So the colors might look differently, but they're actually closer than it might seem. All right, so let's create another button here. And this is just going to have the home icon. I think it was the home icon. Let's make this wider. Yeah, because then we get a home icon when we go wider. So what I might do is stick with that by saying MDI home, I believe it is. And there we go. We get our next button in. So look at this. We're getting something ridiculously similar. And we're not even writing our own CSS. So even though this is a material design framework, you can make it extremely, extremely similar to something like the Trello UI. So let's have a label here called board. So we're using that label there. We'll change the icon to MDI Trello. So the MDI icon set actually happens to have Trello. So we'll add that in. Now notice that we need a bit of padding on either side of boards there. So what I might do is change this to padding 4 pixels, but then 8 pixels. So that's basically saying 4 pixels on the top and bottom, but then 8 pixels on the left and right. So we've added a little bit of padding to the left and right there. I'm not going to bother too much with typography, but that is something that you can do. We will say, however, no caps in order to decapitalize it like what they've got there. All right, so the hardest section here is going to be this import, because notice that when you click on it, it makes it white, and when you click off of it, it kind of goes back to normal, and it also makes it a bit larger when you click on it too. So let's have a look at how we might do that. And there's a few ways you could probably do this, but I'm going to show you the way I'm going to do it. Q-input. And then we're going to model some data here so that it actually works properly. And how about we set that to search text? And then we'll come down here and we'll say reference. How about we say const search text is equal to a reference. And by default, I think I'll set that to nothing. And now we're going to have to pull ref out of here and then expose it. Return search text. Save that. All right, so there's our input there. It's coming off a little bit weird, and it's sort of like messing with our layout, but that's okay. We can start now plugging away at this. So what else can we do? I'm just going to lay this out differently. So we're modeling the data now. Next, I probably want to know if it is focused or not so that we can change the styling based on that. Before I get started, though, let's do a couple of other things like making it dense, borderless. Yeah, so that's going to like sort of squeeze everything in a little bit. And how about we give it an input class? So this is changing the class of the actual underlying input element, so the input element itself. And the reason I'm doing this in an object is because I'm probably going to want some control over this input class based on whether or not we focused on this input. Okay, so how about this? Q-padding left extra small. We want to add some padding there because notice we've got like no padding by default. So we'll set that to true. What else can I do here? How about we have a placeholder? Okay, because notice that we get a placeholder there that's set to search. So I'll set that equal to search ... something like that. Yeah, there we go. So we're getting the placeholder in. What else? We also want to get the colors right as well. So in order to get the colors right, I think I might now implement this this focus unfocus functionality. So how about this? At focus, so when we focus this element, we call this function. And then that function is going to say search focused. So we might have a variable there and we'll set it equal to true just so we can easily see whether or not it's focused or not. And then what I'm actually also going to do is set the search text equal to nothing. And the reason I'm doing that is I want to have this jump to text to show by default. I'll show you what I mean. So if we come down here, I want to set that to jump to by default. Yeah, so now we've got that, but when we click on it, it gets set to nothing. But then we want to say when it's unfocused, we go back to what we originally had. So I believe the word for that is blur. Then basically we want to negate this, so change search focused equal to false. And we want to set that text back to what it was originally, which is jump to. So I'm trying to replicate this functionality here. So let's try that. Yeah, there we go. So notice we select it and unselect it, and it changes that text, and we get that same functionality. Okay, cool. So now we can start using this search focus variable to start messing around with things. And the first thing I want to do here is add another input class. So how about text-white? But I only want that if it is not search focused. Otherwise, it's going to be text dash, probably something like gray 9. Yeah. So let's give that a try. What's happening here? I think we need to actually define that. Yeah, we haven't defined it yet. So let's say const search focused, and by default, of course, that'll be equal to false. Cool. All right, so notice that text is changing color like it does here. Next, maybe we can do the background. So change it to a white background based on whether or not it's selected. So how about this? That should be working now. Why aren't we getting that underlined? That's all right. It seems to still be working. So I'm just going to leave that as is for now. It might even be a problem in the linter. So let's go back to that main layout. And it looks like it's working again now. Just needed to refresh the linter. All right, so that's the input class. How about we make another one for, what else do we want to do? Yeah, how about we add some classes on and off? So like this, class is equal to, and we'll set that to an object. And then we'll say q dash margin left extra small, and we'll set that equal to true by default. Okay, so we're adding a little bit of a margin to the left here. What else? I want to do some padding here. Q dash padding all is equal to none. So let's set that equal to true. Yeah, there we go. So now we're getting something a little bit closer to what we have with the Trello example here. What else can we do? Now we want to change that background to a similar background to what we have here. So how about background blue 6? And that's if we do not have search focused. And there we go. So now we're getting a little bit of getting a little bit closer to what we want there. What else? Then we want to have the background equal to white if it is focused. So let's see if that works. Cool. All right. We're starting to get close to this functionality. What else do we want to do? We want to round off these borders a little bit. So how about this? Rounded borders. That's a class that we get for free from Quasar. And there we go. Now we've got the rounded borders. The last thing I want, though, I think is we probably want to change the width and make the width a little bit smaller. So I'm going to do that with a style tag. Style. How about this? Well, not width, sorry, the height. Notice that the height is a little bit too high there. What we can do is say, how did I do this actually? I'm missing where this is in my code, but we might push on and see if we can figure that out. All right, so for the style, I want to set a transition because notice that it goes out and in like that. So let's set a transition equal to width 0.2 seconds. And I want to say important on that to make sure that that transition is picked up. And then we can say the width of this is equal to, well, if it's search focused, we can make it 300 pixels. like so. Otherwise, let's set it to 180 pixels. Let's try that. All right, cool, that's working. Nice, nice. That looks really good to me. All right, what else? We want to give it an icon as well. So how about we come in here, and then we have a template. And then what we can actually do is say append. So let's append to this input a Q-icon. This will have a name equal to mdi-magnify. So let's save that. Now we get that magnifying glass icon. And what else can we do here? We want it to be white. Okay, that's good. So that sets it to white. And let's set the class equal to Q-margin right extra small, just to push it across a little bit. Nice. What else? We only want to display this. Yeah, it looks like we only want to display it if we are in normal mode, not if we're in focus mode. So how about we say here, if not search focused. Whoop, v-if. Whoops. Have to bring all that back again now. Cool, so that icon actually isn't showing now, and we can go ahead and add in the other one. So let's have a look at how we might add in the other icons. And we can say here, how about a comment that says search is focused? And so I can get rid of that. And they had 2 icons from memory. Yeah, then we get these 2 icons in there. So how about we add those in? MDI, arrow, top, right, I believe is the name of the first one. So we'll need a color on that as well, probably like gray 9. Let's have a look at that. There we go. It's a little bit big. So how about we say size is equal to extra small. Nice. Okay, that size is looking a bit better now. And I'll probably copy a bit of this because it'll be the same for down there. And this one, how about we say MDI close, I believe that this is the icon. Yeah, it looks like a close icon. So let's try that. And there we go. Now we have those 2 icons. But this one has got, it's probably got a little bit more of a margin right. So maybe small there. Yeah, all right, that looks good to me. And then you would implement the functionality when you click on it, it closes, and this like the functionality of pressing this button here and all that jazz. But yeah, we're pretty much there at the final thing for the search bar. I just want to set the height correctly so that it's got the right height. And it looks like this is going to be one of those rare occasions where I do actually have to write some of my own CSS. Oh. So how about we say here, style, and basically what we want to do is we want to hook into this input component, and when the component is dense, we basically want to set it to an even smaller height. So let me show you how we can do that. What we can do is say dot q-field -dense. So we're basically saying when it is dense, q-field control, and then we also want to say q-field -dense q-field __ marginal. I am not by any stretch of the imagination a CSS pro. In fact, I am not a big fan of CSS in general. So let's say important on that. And you might want to make this more specific using like using an ID there or something like that so that this doesn't affect the rest of your application, but we'll leave it like that for now. And I think I can say here language is equal to SCSS or SAS. I can't remember which one to use, to be honest. SCSS, maybe, I don't know. There we go. That's fixed that up now. How cool is that? So it took a little bit of work, but it was not that difficult in order to change it to this Trello functionality. And to be honest, I'd probably just do things the Quasar way and wouldn't bother with all of this. and just make it fit in. However, I think it would make more sense for it to fit in using Quasar. But hey, it just shows you that if you want that extra functionality, if you want to be able to create a UI like this, you can actually do it. The last thing I'll do is I'll probably just add in a little bit more. So let's just add like some more buttons to the side here. But it's all going to be the same concept, so I won't go too far. So let's just, how about we just add this avatar here? And in order to do that, we will probably need some space. So let's use the Q space component. This is really cool, this component. Check it out. If I say here Q dash space, it just pushes everything across. So check this out. If I have a div now that says pushed, yeah, notice that it just pushes everything to the side. So now I can say, for example, Q dash avatar. So we're basically going to recreate what we've got here. And do I want that to be an avatar? Or do I want that to be a button? We might actually put an avatar inside of a button. So how about this? Q dash button. And we're going to set the size for this button equal to medium. And then we can come in here and just say Q dash avatar. This basically means this thing's size really, really nicely. I think we talked about this in the previous Quasar show. And we'll set the size on the avatar also equal to medium. In fact, I think I'll put that on the, I probably shouldn't have put that on the button, just directly on the avatar. And now I can just throw an image directly in there. And for now, I think I'll just use an image of my profile picture. And I've got that somewhere down here. So I'm just going to do a bit of a copy-paste job. It's just my profile picture. And there we go. So that's showing up. But let's fix the styling so we got something similar to what we have here. And that's not too difficult to do. We just need to add some classes to the button. First of all, it's going to be round. We'll add some classes by saying Q marginal extra small in order to make sure that it fits in a little bit tighter. And we'll also set the text equal to white, just in case we don't have an image and it's just going to be some letters. For example, just LD. That's why I add text white in there. And I'll just quickly show that in case you've got just the letter L. Yeah. All right, so let's go back to what we had before. What next? I want to set the color equal to our primary color, whatever that is, so that when we've just got the letter that shows nicely. Unelevated, to get rid of that shadow. All right, we're getting close now. And we'll make it dense because notice that we've got that little, that space in between there. And that's it. I mean, that was pretty ridiculously easy to do. So now we've basically mimicked the UI for Trello. I didn't add the logo. You know, you could do whatever you wanted to do there with the logo, but hopefully this gives you an idea of how easy it is to style things using Quasar, and you really don't need to have the material design feel if you don't want. Quasar basically just gives you some components that you can manipulate however you like in order to get the design that you want. And if you do want to go deeper and start writing your own CSS, you can. But yeah, to be honest, I've mentioned this before, for the most part, I like to just follow the material design spec because I'm not a professional designer and I know that the material design spec has been tested on literally millions of people around the world. So there we go. We were able to replicate that relatively easily, even all of that search functionality. This was lots of fun. I'll see you in the next section where we explore something else. Let's take a look at Quasar's range component. I think you're really going to love it. Check this out. So if I say here Q-range, then we can use the range component. We'll want to model something. So how about we model a piece of data called range, and then we'll set the min equal to 0. So that will be the bottom of the range, and then a max equal to 20. As per usual, the Quasar API makes total sense. Save that so it formats, and then I can come in here and we'll return range. We'll pull ref out of here. And then we can say here, const range is equal to a reference to an empty object, like so. And there we go. So this empty object, by the way, is going to need a min and a max. So by default, we'll set the min equal to 0 and the max equal to 10. Now, if I come up here, since the max is 20 and half of 20 is 10, that means that it should show from 0 to about halfway, or to exactly halfway. And there we go. So now we can move it in and out in order to change the model. In fact, how about we spit the model out underneath? Well, how about we have like a pre-tag like this, and then we can say range. And there we go. Now we can see it changing as we go. So I just want to show you a whole bunch of really cool methods and attributes that we get with a range out of the box. It's quite awesome, the flexibility we get. And like I said before, as per usual, Quasar has an awesome API for all of this stuff. So first of all, notice that when I hover, I can't really tell what those numbers are. We can add in label here. And now when I hover, might have to refresh the page. Now when I hover, those labels come up. So it's a little bit clearer what we're sitting on. So that's pretty cool. Another thing we can do is say label dash always. And that means that the label is always going to show up. So there it is there. Even when I'm not hovering over it, we can see those labels. So if you had a volume bar, for example, maybe you would have no labels at all, like that. But then for other things, you might want to have it labeled. What else can we do? Of course, we can change the color equal to something like purple. So there we go. What else can we do? We can also say step. Now, this is awesome, and I use this all the time. So when you say step, notice that, this is how we set the step. So we can say 5, for example. And now notice that whenever I move it across, it goes up by 5 at a time. So if I try and just go down a little bit, it's always going to snap to steps of 5. So that's really cool. I like that we can do that. We can specify the steps. What else can we do? We can also add markers, and I might actually remove step. And if we add markers, we get this really useful sort of indicator of where the next number is in the range. And if we combine that with something like step, so let's say it's set to 2, for example, and I refresh this page. Yeah, notice that the markers basically adhere to whatever the step is set to. So that's also really cool. Once again, I'm going to remove step. All right, so we can also say snap. It's pretty obvious what this will do, and this makes a nice feeling for when you're changing the range. Yeah, it's just really, I usually use snap because it just gives a nicer, like, a more accurate feeling when you're trying to change it. So we can do that. We can also say left label value. And a great example of this is where you want the label to, for example, display a year. And in fact, let me show you this properly. If we say 2000 there, and the maximum is like 2021. Check this out. I might have to come down here and change our initial ranges. 2000, and let's just say we want to show data that's just between 2000 and by default 2005. And there we go. However, it's not really clear that they're years. So what you might want to do is say left label value. And then we can say here, for example, I'll use a template string, year, and then we can pull out the range dot min, I believe that would be. And there we go. So year 2003. And then we can change that like so. So it's cool that we get that flexibility. And then, of course, you can also do the same for the right label value. And we'll change that to max. And there we go. Really nice functionality with the range. What else? Oh, this is really cool. So you can say, for example, drag range. And this can be especially helpful if you're filtering out some data and you want your users to be able to say, like, look at snapshots of 5 years, for example. Then they could do something like this. So 2000 to 2005. Now they can grab the center. Oh, did that work? I might have to refresh the page here. Hot module reloading isn't working right now for some reason. Yeah, there we go. Notice that you can drag the entire thing. So you can set like a 5-year period or a 10-year, whatever you like, and then drag that period across like so. I think that's really awesome, and it works really well with when you're setting an interval as well, like a step. I'll show you what I mean. Let's say step is equal to 5, and we'll refresh the page there. And now we can just snap to those 5-year periods. Really, really cool. I love that functionality. What else can we do? Well, honestly, that's pretty much it for the range component. It's pretty straightforward. Oh, there is one cool thing I want to show you. Everything I just showed you there, we can make it vertical as well. So let's refresh the page. Check that out. How cool is that? Man, I love Quasar. I love this functionality that we get. So that's the range component. And in the next video, I'm going to show you the queue responsive component in the next segment. And I think you're also going to find that really cool. Check out the queue ratio component. I think you're absolutely going to love it. But before I actually show you the component, I want to show you some other components that use the concept of ratios under the hood. And one of them that you're going to find particularly useful is the Q-image component. So you might have used this before, and you might know that you can, for example, put in a source image there, and I just copied one behind the scenes. And so we got this cute dog. Oh, that is so cute. I love it. But now what we can actually do is put in a ratio for this image. So for example, how about 2/1? And now it's going to maintain that ratio no matter what the size of the screen. So how cool is that? We now know that this image is always going to maintain that ratio, which is, often useful for like the top section of a website. I do this kind of thing all the time. Now, rather than writing that code myself, it's all done for me using this simple attribute. I love it. However, where this is really particularly useful is with videos. I have always dealt with trying to have videos responsive and having them resized the right way. And there's like a million different ways to do it. And you can do these weird CSS hacks or do your own JavaScript, but not with Quasar. Quasar makes this an absolute breeze. So how about we do this? And for the source, for a Q video, I'm just going to paste in one of my videos there. And now check this out. A video that always maintains the right ratio. For those of you that have tried to do this in the past, you'll know how amazing this is. Being able to set a ratio on a video. I absolutely love it. And Quasar makes it literally that easy. It's a joke. Yeah, a common ratio for this would be something like 16/9. That's a very common ratio for videos. And so, yeah, now I can ensure that it's always going to be the correct ratio there. Yeah, really cool stuff. All right, so Quasar's actually made it so that this functionality sits within its own component. So check this out. Q-responsive. And what the Q-responsive allows you to do is basically the same concept I showed you in image in video. We can give it a background, for example, of background-blue so that it's going to be visible. And by default, we won't see anything. And if we give it, for example, a width of, how about 90 view width? Once again, you won't see anything, but it's now going to cover most of the width here. And now what we can do is give it a ratio. So how about a ratio of 16/9, similar to what we had for the video. And now it shows up, and the ratio maintains depending on the size of the browser. And it turns out this actually allows us to do some really, really interesting stuff. I'll give you an example. Let's imagine that we have a row. Oh, this should be actually a div with a class equal to row. All right, so let's imagine that we have a row, and inside of that row, we've got this Q responsive. And then we can say, for example, here, 16. How about we make it 12/6. Okay, so that's kind of like a halfway Q responsive. And we'll give it a class equal to column. All right, so let's save that. And now let's add another one in. But this one, we're going to change the color equal to gray. And there we go. Now we've got two Q responsives side by side. But in this one, now I can say 12/12. So that's going to be equal to 1. But then, one thing I actually need to do here is say items-start. And that's going to stop it from stretching that item through to the bottom there so that it respects the Q responsive. Yeah, so there we go. And now what I can actually do here is wrap this inside of a div. Okay, with a column, and then I can throw two Q responsives in like this, all right? And then 12/6 plus 12 out of 6 is going to equal 1. And then 12 out of 12 is equal to 1. And so if you do the math, look at what happens here. Let's say blue dash 2. They end up being the same size, and they're the same size, but they're still responsive. How cool is that? So playing around with these ratios, we can get some really interesting layouts going on here. So we can push this concept a little bit further. I'm going to copy that entire column and whack it under here. All right, so basically it's going to take up some space over here now. And now what we can do is say, for example, 12, 4, 12, 4, and then let's do another 12, 4 like this. 12, 4. All right, so 4 plus 4 plus 4 is equal to 12. So they should all be the same height as what we've got over here. And I'll show you that in a moment. Let's change that to purple. And how about we have like purple 2 there? This one can be like purple 7, and this could be like purple 4. So they're all different purples. And there we go. How cool is that? So as you can imagine, you could do like some pretty interesting stuff with your layouts here, where, you know, they scale to different screen sizes. And you could do other stuff as well. Like if I wanted this to be double the size, then you could say 12, 8, 12, 8, 12, 8. And if the math checks out, then that's going to end up being equal to double the size as this section here. So yeah, Q responsive is really awesome. And it's one of those things where you just need to know that it's available. And then throughout your dev life, you're gradually going to find bits and pieces and situations here and there where the Q responsive component would make sense. So definitely start using it in your videos and your images. Not the Q responsive component, but use the ratio attribute in your images and videos. And where necessary, check out Q responsive. And yeah, you can even do some really cool artsy stuff like this when you have a play with it as well. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll see you in the next segment. One of the things I love about doing this show is that I get to just demonstrate really cool stuff that other people have been doing in the Quasar world. And Jeff's calendar component, as I keep going on about, is just insanely cool. So he's released the alpha version, which is going to be for Quasar version 2. And I just wanted to show you how cool it is. Now, notice that this is still in alpha, but I just wanted to point out some parts of the doc that I'm particularly excited about. And look, notice there are 142 examples here. So feel free to check this out and scroll through, if not to use it, just to get excited and sort of make yourself familiar with what's going to be available in Q Calendar, because we all end up having a situation where we might need to have a calendar in our app, and it's really cool to have one that is native to Quasar. So the month slot means that we can do all of this cool stuff with chips here. I think that's like particularly awesome, and that's how most people would use calendars, to like display certain things that are going to happen inside of a month. What else have we got? The agenda planner. This is really cool. So now you can start like dragging and dropping this stuff in order to like plan for an agenda. So that's really cool. You can even you've even got like this select all option as well. And then you can change to different days. Man, just really, really awesome stuff. Multimod. Okay, check this out. So when you've got multiple months like this, you can, for example, click and drag across to select multiple months. So you don't have to implement that functionality. All of this stuff is available, and the source code is sitting right there for you to use. So I think that's amazing. What else have we got? Yeah, the same thing for month view. If you want to select multiple months, what else have we got? Month theme. Oh, okay, this is really cool. Jeff has made it so that theming is possible using this component. So now you can add all of these different themes on top as well to make it look however you'd like it to. So that's really cool. What else have we got? Resource sticky. Oh yeah, so you can have a resource, like you can see here. And check it out, we can scroll up and down, but look at what happens when I go left and right. Look at this left side here. Whoops. It's sticky. So it stays on the left there, so you can actually see, in this situation, what the boardroom is or what the person is for like scheduling stuff. Really, really cool if you want to create some sort of a scheduling tool. And two other ones, tasks by month. So this allows you to do, I can't even remember why I wanted to show this, but it's just cool. So you've got like all these different tasks, but then you can like go next and view those tasks by whatever month you're on. And then you can just scroll across and view that task for the entire month. Kind of like a Gantt chart kind of thing. And then what's the last one I've got here? Okay, yes, slots for like a weekday. So you can like add in your slots here. This is for like all day event type stuff. So the point I'm trying to make here is that Jeff has thought of everything, and you should definitely check out his documentation for the alpha release of Q Calendar. Might not want to use it in production yet, but definitely like get on top of this and know what's going to be available, because I don't personally, as I'm going to start utilizing this stuff as soon as it comes out, because we constantly need to have calendar related stuff within our applications at work. So really cool. Thanks heaps, Jeff, and I'll see you in the next segment. Wait, seriously? As I mentioned in the news, Evan has released a new single file component playground that you can mess around with in your browser. Let me show you what I mean. So check this out. On the left here, we've got our single file component, and on the right here, we've got the result. And you can even view your compiled JavaScript, CSS, even SSR. I didn't even know that this was available. That's pretty cool. But anyway, let's go back to the preview and notice that we've got setup here. So this is something that a lot of you might not know. Rather than actually writing your setup method like we usually do, so you usually know you'll have like export, default, and then you'll have like setup, like that. You can actually get rid of all of this code and put it directly in there if you've got this setup attribute on the script tag. So check this out. It's actually really cool. Now I can do stuff like this. We're going to import reference. And by the way, I'm going to build a counter here from Vue. So this is just like you would usually do it. But now we can do some cool stuff like this. Let counter is equal to a reference to 0. And I got to say, without this nesting, it feels so ridiculously clean to be able to write code like this. And now I can say function add, and then you can say counter.value, and we'll plus equals 1. So we've got a function here for adding, and you could add one for subtracting, but I just want to do a really basic example here. And like, once again, since we're using Vue 3, we don't even need to nest things within the template. We can do stuff like this. We can have like a h1, and let's set that equal to the value of the counter. And I don't even need to nest this within a div. We can just say button. Oh, wow, this does a lot of auto-completion for me. And then we can say @click is equal to add. And then we can put in here something like increment, for example. How cool is that? I mean, how ridiculously clean is this code? And it works. And notice, I didn't even have to say return and then return the counter there like you usually would when you're using your setup method. Basically, since we've got the setup attribute there, it just assumes that all of your variables, your references, are going to be returned. And so now you end up with this just ridiculously clean code that gives you the result that you need. I mean, I don't even know, I can't even think of how you could possibly make it any cleaner than this, unless you like remove the concept of reps, which we can't really do. But how cool is that? So check out the single file component playground. Single file component playground. It's just sfc.vuejs.org, so a super easy URL to remember. You could even go and check that out right now. So I'll see you in the next segment. I used to think of having gaps in my brain, so lack of knowledge, as a kind of weakness. And I remember I used to think that I was stupid and not as smart as most people. And I think the reason that I thought that, and actually I'm pretty confident that one of the reasons I thought that is because people talk about what they know about. People don't talk about what they don't know about. And that creates the perception that people are smarter than they seem. Whereas I would ask a lot of questions because I felt like I was always lacking knowledge. Whereas if you're constantly talking about things you already know, it creates the perception that you already have a lot of knowledge, that you kind of have all of the answers. And because of that, I used to think that a lot of people around me were so much smarter than they actually were. So just remember that when people are like rattling off knowledge, keep in mind that you actually have a lot of knowledge too that you could be rattling off. Maybe you're just not the kind of person that does it. So anyway, I used to have this sort of idea of myself, but then later on in life, I realized that if you have this mentality of gaps in your brain are good, then everything becomes so much more better and learning becomes so much more exciting. I remember reading this book by Tony Bazan. It's called the Mind Map book. And he basically helped me realize that if you find gaps in your brain, rather than thinking of that as like, oh, I'm stupid because I don't have this knowledge, now I get really excited about that because to me, that is an opportunity to fill that gap and to become smarter. People that don't know the gaps in their brains, people that don't have the right questions to find those gaps in their brains, those are people that remain stagnant and don't grow. But every time you find a gap in your brain, every time you come up with a question you don't know the answer to, then you have the opportunity to then learn that thing, which is really awesome and really exciting. Like that's the most exciting thing in life and the most exciting thing about being a programmer, discovering new things, finding those gaps. And so when you see people around you that seem to be a whole lot smarter than you, that is an awesome thing. That is a good thing because now you can start asking them questions. You can start filling in those gaps in your brain. And you know what happens? When you become the kind of person that asks lots of questions and tries to fill the gaps in your brain, you start to earn a lot of respect from people that matter. Because people that tend to matter in life, people that tend to have the power to move you up in life, they're the people that identify the skill of someone who can ask really high quality questions, someone who wants to learn, someone who wants to expand their knowledge. So this is just a message that I really wanted to share with you all, that if there are gaps in your brain and if you feel like frankly, if you feel like you're stupid, if you feel like you're unintelligent compared to other people, as nuts as this might sound, that's actually a good thing. Now that you think that you're not very smart, now that you know you've got lots of gaps in your brain, start trying to fill them. That's the excitement. That's learning. That's progressing. That's when you start to become someone more than you are right now in your life. So yeah, I just really wanted to share this method with all of you. Thank you so much for watching. This has been the Quasar Show. And hey, if you like this kind of thing, if you like the way that I teach, then check out quasarcast.com/register. Or if you really like, you can just go to quasarcast.com straight away and view videos there. Currently, all of the videos are free. Down the line, I will start putting up a paywall for the deeper content. So the higher level stuff, like the kind of stuff you find in the documentation, will always be free. And then I'll start charging for the deeper stuff down the line. And by the way, check out Danny's stuff. I think his last name's Connell, but you can just look up Danny Quasar on YouTube because he already does a lot of lower level Quasar stuff, like building real life applications. So yeah, there's already awesome stuff out there for building real life Quasar apps. Hit him up on Twitter. Check out some of his stuff because currently I'm not doing any of that. And from what I've heard, he does a really awesome job. So go check him out. Go to quasarcast.com/register and build an account there. And thank you so much for watching. I always have a blast doing these shows. Sometimes it's stressful and it's a push to get it all done in the end, but it's always totally worth it to be able to share my love and my knowledge of Quasar. And one last message before I go. If you enjoyed this, then to show your appreciation, please check out the donation page on Quasar. And just enter the habit of donating, even if it's only like 5, 10, or 20 cents, even if it's $1, just the minimum amount that you can offer, it really is a big help. And it means that later on down the line, when you start making a little bit more money in your life due to, the awesomeness we get out of Quasar, then you can start donating a little bit more because you'll be in the habit of donating. So that's what I plan on doing. That's what I do. And as my pay raise, as I start getting paid more in life, I can then start offering more and more to Quasar. And I don't say that to just be like, how cool am I donate to Quasar or whatever. I say this because I want to share this mentality of the world with everybody else in the world. And honestly, I do it partly out of selfishness, because if I donate to the Quasar community, then I know that it's going to be around for longer, and it's going to be stronger, and the team's going to have more time to put into the framework. So thank you so much for watching. I really love doing this stuff. Consider donating to Quasar, and I'll see you in the next episode of The Quasar Show. Bye for now. My name is Luke Diebold. I'm part of a group of web developers that build high-performance Vue apps in record time with a framework called Quasar. We don't spend months on designs that take years to test and end up confusing our customers. We use the material design spec because we already know that it works. Since we're community-driven, we have to be smarter than corporate frameworks. We do this by insisting on top-class web components, striving to use best practices, and pushing ourselves to raise the bar of what's possible on the web. Most component libraries do one thing and leave you to figure out the rest. We have a vision that is much, much bigger. An unparalleled experience building front-end apps that work on all platforms. We are Quasar developers, and there is nothing we can't build.